Now the rest of these questions are going to be the ones that like everybody else seems to be doing. There seems to be 3 rules to this. 1, you must be honest. Duh, obviously, I'm not lying with all of these jump cuts. Number 2, you must answer all the questions. I hope I do that. And number 3, you must tag at least 4 people. On one of my tags previously, I didn't tag anyone, so I already must have failed at that. But, okay, let's get started. Number 1, what book has been on your shelf the longest? And I can tell you exactly which book has been on my shelf the longest, and I still have it to this day. It's in this abyss of books, and that would be the box set of the Chronicles of Narnia. I bought that when I was in elementary school, and I still remember it because it's one of the first books my mom bought for me from one of those Scholastics books fair, and I still have the whole set, and I loved it. Like, those were the first like fantasy books that I've ever read that made me fall in love with reading, especially The Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe. That is one of my favorites. Number 2, what is your current read, your last read, and the book you'll read next? As of the filming of this video, my current read is History is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. My last read is The Glorious Heresies by Lisa McGurney, and then my book I'll read next is It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis. If you want to know all of this, I did like a books I want to read in April type of thing. Number 3, what book did everyone like but you hated? Woo! Woo! Some of y'all. Okay. For this, I'm going to pick Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This was my first Ishiguro, and I knew going into this that as an author, he is highly praised and well respected. And so I went into this book, and I hated it. Like, I just... Oh... And it was one of those books I knew I didn't like when I had to pressure myself to read it. And at the end, I really didn't understand why people enjoyed it. The themes and the concept, like, I understood and I got it, but I just was... It really left me with this emptiness and this disconnect. Me and that book. Number 4, what book do you keep telling yourself you'll read but you probably won't? I have also told myself that I was never gonna read like a book, but then I find myself reading the book. Like, I told, after I finished the 3rd book in the 50 Shades of Grey series, and then I found out that she was writing like a point of view from Christian's perspective, I was like, oh, I'm never gonna read that. And then a few weeks, months later, I did a whole review on Grey. So never say never. Number 5, what book are you saving for retirement? I don't understand the question and I won't respond to it. Number 6, last page. Read it first or wait till the end. Bitch, what? Why in the world would you read the last page of the book first? I would never read the last page first. Why would you do that to yourself? You are spoiling it. I really don't understand this question. Wow, that made me feel some type of way. Number 7, acknowledgement. Waste of paper and ink or interesting aside. Whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Number 8, which book character would you switch places with? Now, when I was thinking of this, the first thing that came up to my mind is Cersei from A Song of Ice and Fire, because she is a bad bitch. She is my favorite character on that series, and I know a lot of people say Daenerys, but Daenerys, when I first read the books, she was annoying. She was so annoying. I said, oh my god. But I see why people understand her, because especially on the TV show, as the series is going along, you could really see a growth in Daenerys, especially at season 6 now. She's being more mindful of the actions that she takes, because especially in like books 2 and 3, especially 6, in 6, A Dance with Dragons, for me, especially in the beginning, she's really naive, and a lot of the choices that she make, like for political purposes, I was like, it's almost half thought of, but I mean, in the end, everything works out, so that's great. But she is starting to grow on me, especially last season of Game of Thrones, like season 6. I was like, oh, okay, I guess, yeah, she is pretty badass. When I saw this question, I was like, oh, Cersei. But then I was like, oh, Nah, because I just know that she, like, okay, I don't think this is a spoiler alert, but I don't think this is a spoiler, but I think she's gonna die. Like, come on, everybody, come on, like. Out of all the characters on that show, if at this point you kind of know, like, she might be the ones that die first of all, but then also I was like, ooh, she's really into that incest, and I can't really get with that. But I love her as a character because she's this type of character that, first off, like, she is ride or die. She is a ride or die chick. She loves her sons and daughters so much. I mean, even Joffrey, like, she saw something in him, but then she also saw that he was crazy too. Like, when you get to her chapters, I was so excited because, like, the way her mind works was so fascinating for me. Like, Nun is talking to her and talking about confessing your sins. In the back of her mind, you can see, like, the gears turning, and you can really see what she's plotting in her head. And I really enjoyed in season 6, like, something happens in season 6 where it's like, oh my god, yes, she is a bad bitch and I love her. But my final answer with this would be dogs. In particular, Clifford the big red dog, because I love Clifford the big red dog. Okay, number 9. Do you have a book that reminds you of something specific in your life? Yes, I would choose Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. The reason why I love this book so much is also, like, technically, and the artistry of it is really fantastic. Like, it's written so well, the plot is amazing, the characters is amazing, blah 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 blah, like, all of that. But this book really holds a special place in my heart is because when I read it, oh god, when I read this book for the first time, it was a point in my life, like, it was really like a eye-opener. And also, I had a death in my family, and it just really spoke to me in a way that, since it's like about a pastor confronting, I mean, he knows he's about to die, and he's writing these letters to his son, and it's just done so beautiful. And I'm not gonna lie, I cried during that book. Like, I got really emotional. It really connects with me in that way that I really hone it down during a hard time in my life. So yeah, there's that. Okay, number 10! Name a book that you acquired in an interesting way. I talked about it when I hauled it, but I never got around to it, and that would be A Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Ruffus. I found this book at a Second and Charles, and in Second and Charles, they have, in the, like, outside, they have this little bin where it's free books. I guess it's books that, like, they can't accept or whatnot. And then I looked inside of this, and look, it's his autograph. So I don't know if that's real or not, but that's an interesting story. I was like, whoa, it was free, and it's a hardback. I think it's also a first edition. Okay, number 11. Have you ever given a book away for a special reason to a special person? Yes, my family. I talked about it in that last tag. Which book has been with you at most places? And for this, I'm going to pick A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. And the reason I say this is because I love that huge book. It's huge. Like, it's a hardcover too. It's somewhere up there. It's somewhere. I love that huge, big book on my carry-on for my study abroad to Oxford, and I brought it to France with me. I brought it to Scotland. Like, I brought it during our whole study abroad, and I just remember it being so heavy, and I didn't even finish it because I was having so much fun with all the other, like, activities we were doing. But it was just so much fun, and I just remember bringing it everywhere. Like, it was everywhere though. Any required reading that you hated in high school that wasn't so bad 2 years later? For this, there's some questionable, like, required reading. I could probably tell you more books that I love that were required reading than I didn't like. Used or brand new, both. It doesn't matter to me as long as I have the book. Have you ever read a Dan Brown book? Yes! Brandon books are so much fun. I just recently listened to Angels and Demon, and that is like, it's like a fun book, because it's like a popcorn type of book, I guess you could say, if you really want to categorize it. It's like watching it's like watching a summer blockbuster. It's just action, 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 and it's actually a great audiobook experience. Like, I would recommend it in audiobook form because it's like you see the movie in your head, and it's really, I like Dan Brown book. The one that I physically read was The Da Vinci Code, and I remember reading it really fast, and I was like, wow, okay. Have you ever seen a movie that you like more than the book? Okay, so I'm gonna include two books for this. One book that I listened to the audiobook, but then I haven't seen the movie, but I think the movie is gonna be better. And that's Hidden Figures by Margaret Lee Shellerly. I talk about it in my wrap up, but it's choppy in the way that it tells the story. Like the way that it tells the story, it's, in my opinion, is really choppy. I think the movie's gonna be better than the book because they're gonna be able to like just tell the story, and it's been getting really good praises, so I'm excited to watch it whenever I have a chance to watch it. A movie that I think is as good as the book, like both of them are done so well, is Atonement by Ian McEwan. First off, this is one of my favorite books. I love this book. It's written beautifully, and the way the story unfolds, bruh, it's so good. But the reason why I love the movie is because it follows really close to the book. Like, it follows really close to the book. It is shot beautifully. Oh my god, the cinematography in the movie is amazing. But my favorite aspect would probably have to be the music and the score, because the way that the score is used, because if you watch the trailer, it's so cool. But the score is using like the typewriter noise, and it is done so well. And without giving too much away, it is done so well. Like, the way that it uses the typewriter, oh, it's so good. I would recommend the movie. And it is shot beautifully. Like, that scene where they're in like running in the field, and then it has this one huge cinematography. Yes. Number 17. Have you ever read a book that made you hungry, cookbooks included? Yes, all cookbooks make me hungry. But the one that I did recently talk about was Jam on the Vine by LaShonda Catrice Barnett. The way that this book describes food is so good. It is scrumptious, delicious. It includes all the 5 senses. It's bitter, sweet, umami, salty. I'm missing a sense. I forgot. Who is the person whose book advice you'll always take? I take a lot of people's book advices. Probably Dee Dee from Brown Girl Reading, because she recommends books that makes me really interested. Like, I'm really interested into them, and I really enjoy her reading taste. Where am I? Oh my gosh. Is there a book out of your comfort zone, your usual reading genre, that you ended up loving? I have 2 books for this. The first book is The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach. A lot of people talk about this book because it doesn't feel like what it is. So this book is about baseball, but then it's not about baseball. Like, it uses baseball as like a metaphor, and it teaches you about, like, I learned a few things about baseball that I didn't know, because I don't know what sports is. Actually, about the characters and how baseball is this integral part of all of their lives, but you really see how these characters unfold. It's actually really good. But the book that I choose here is because it is the first audiobook that I've ever listened to, and it is an audiobook that in a genre of nonfiction that I don't usually gravitate to, and that's Columbine by Dave Cullen. I talk a lot about this book all the time. But if you are starting on audiobooks, I would recommend this novel. Even if you love audiobooks, I would recommend this. Even if you don't read a lot of nonfiction, I would recommend this too, because it is done so well, and I love it's fantastic. It's a fantastic nonfiction. I loved it. I would recommend it. And then the last question tag for people, I'll link it down below. This video is already long. So if you did this tag, let me know so I can watch your video. Other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow!